Welcome back to more ReZero. Last time Subaru died again, so we are starting a new loop. Subaru wakes up in the graveyard. From there, things play out the same as the first loop. Amelia stays asleep while the rest talk, and Subaru says nothing about his qualifications. So I guess he just decided not to hold her until she felt better, like he did in the last loop. It seems like he just went back to doing whatever he did in the first loop, even though the second loop was better, in my opinion. In the novel, Subaru doesn't immediately go help Amelia. He kind of takes a second to celebrate the fact that, as far as reset points go, he's not in a bad spot. And then he realizes that he probably shouldn't be happy while Amelia is suffering. I don't know. I feel like it's okay for him to take a second and be happy that everyone dying isn't set in stone. But Subaru doesn't think that he should feel that way, so that's going to end up coming back up later. As per usual, the web novel has a very different order of events. He wakes up, he deals with Amelia, gets her back to her room where she can sleep, and then it skips to something that doesn't happen until way later in the other versions. So assume that everything coming up here does not happen in the web novel, and I'll add in whenever the web novel actually joins in with the other versions. Before we continue, let's add some time here. So Subaru wakes up in the graveyard, talks with Roswell about going back to the mansion, and then leaves the next day. Shit goes downhill at the mansion the same day they arrive. So that loop is like 24 hours ish. We'll count it as a day. Again, the web novel time is different, but I'm using the anime and light novel time. I'm sorry, Subaru, for losing my composure like that. Hey, it's fine. Just rest for tonight. We can talk tomorrow. This is different from the first loop. He avoids bringing up retaking the trial and kind of puts a little bit less stress on her, but I don't think that was intentional, honestly. It might have been, but he is planning on taking the trial in her place. So I think that's more of the reason that he didn't bring it up just yet. In the light novel, they don't really talk at all. Amelia is passed out from the time that they leave the graveyard. All that's left to do is to talk to Roswell. I've got to make sure to ask him about Beatrice this time, since I didn't last time. Natsuki, are you listening? Huh? Are you alright? Yeah, of course. I'm just great. Perfect, in fact. Points to Subaru for getting over death so quickly. It's one thing that has immensely improved from the last arc. Every time that he's died in this arc, he has gotten his bearings and kept calm pretty quick after waking up. At least so far. I'm probably not jinxing it. Does anything look off to you? No, nothing looks off at all. You appear very calm, even with Amelia in her current state. So am I not wrong to find your calmness concerning? You think I'm too calm right now? Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing, but... No, thanks to you, I'm more confident now. Thanks, Otto. That proves I can still think rationally about things, even after all that's happened. No, but there's a huge difference between looking calm and being able to think about things rationally, in my opinion. I think his calmness here makes sense, from our point of view at least. I mean, he did just die a brutal death and is acting like nothing is affecting him, but it kind of goes back to the beginning of this arc. He tried to kill himself so that he could save Rem, but he couldn't save her. His reset point now is actually pretty good. It's far enough along that he doesn't have to redo everything, but it's still far enough back that he can save everyone that he wants to save. So, considering points that he's been at in the past, this spot is actually pretty decent. Otto doesn't get that extra info. He did see Subaru pretty depressed whenever they found Rem, and Subaru says that he's all about Amelia, but now that Amelia is struggling, Subaru seems fine. So I can kind of understand why Otto is confused by this whole situation and thinks that it's weird. Yo, got a sec? You're not one to fall into patterns easily, huh? I mean, last time you would have gone straight back if I hadn't stopped you. I can kind of understand why this one doesn't set off the old envy hands. It's vague enough that it doesn't really hint at his time travel or whatever you want to call it, unlike his conversation with Roswell in the last loop. I've got something important to do, you know. Huh? You talking about your shady schemes with that bastard? Don't call it a shady scheme. So what do you want? Is this about the sanctuary? What the hell else you think I'd want to talk to you about? Well, you might want info on Ram. So on that note, we'll go have a chat about our love lives. But come on, Otto, save it for tomorrow, okay? Alright, fine. I'll be counting on you to deal with the Margrave tomorrow. This isn't the place. Follow me. Another change in the course of events? A little bit that got cut is Subaru and Garfield shit talking Roswell. Now, that in and of itself is pretty normal. But I think this is the first time that Otto has heard them do it. Remember, his entire reason for being there is to establish a good relationship with Roswell. Meanwhile, the people on his side fucking hate him. So Otto starts to second guess on why he's even there in the first place. Another thing left out of the anime about Otto, while Subaru and Garfield are walking, Subaru says that Otto isn't a close friend. He's just a guy that he's saved. And I have to add this in because it will be important for later on. How long has it been since you last saw Frederica? And why the hell should I have to tell you that? I just thought it couldn't hurt to ask. She already left this place. She ain't none of my concern anymore. I know you're Frederica's brother, which means she meets the mixed blood requirement too. So why isn't she here? Why ask me? The barrier won't open unless someone passes the trial. Nothing's gonna change that. Knowing why will give us more options. We're here. Subaru is getting pretty personal here, considering they've technically only known each other for less than a day. I thought about dropping Frederica off the list, but Subaru hasn't completely ruled her as safe. At best, he knows that she's not connected to Elsa and the Witch Beast Hunter, but she still has something to do with Sanctuary. It could very well be that there's multiple parties with multiple different things happening. So he hasn't dropped all suspicion of Frederica just because of what happened in the last loop, and I guess I won't either. You're the one who wanted to talk to me, Ryuzu? You may interpret it that way if you wish. You may notice that Ryuzu is now wearing the same clothes that she was wearing when he first met her after getting teleported. In the light novel, he brings this up, but she just ignores it. And there is a reason for it, and it'll be brought up here shortly. So, are you going to answer my question for me? You mean the reason why Frederica left the sanctuary? What do you intend to do with that information? I'll use it to get everyone out of the sanctuary. Then no one will have to undergo the trial, right? Why are you so obstinate about avoiding the trial? Because I don't want to force Amelia to go through it. It's my own purely selfish reason. That may work for the trial, but it does not do to constantly run away from hardship. I'm not talking about running away. It may not be now, but Amelia will eventually have to face her past. You want to give her an escape, but not from the things that will hurt her the most? She'll beat it without running away. I have complete faith that the girl that I fell for can pull that off. There's no convenient path by which to escape. Frederica does not meet the conditions to be held within the barrier. The barrier determines one's mixed blood status by the amount of each race in their blood. If they possess human and non-human blood in equal amounts, they will be held within the barrier. If you're less than half blood, like a quarter blood or something, it can't hold you? That means we have different dads. We already know that Garfield is a quarter demi-human, but he really goes out of his way to hide it. And I can kind of understand his thinking here. I mean, he is suspicious of Subaru, so he doesn't want to give out too much information on himself. She was born to a human mother and a mixed-blood father. Therefore, she can enter and leave the forest at will. Enter and leave at will. Don't make me laugh. She hasn't been back here in over 10 years. Frederica abandoned this place. Now we've gotten both sides. Frederica thinks that she is helping by being outside of Sanctuary, and thinks that Garfield is just being scared inside. Meanwhile, Garfield thinks that he is helping by being inside, and thinks that Frederica has abandoned them. Honestly, I gotta take Garfield's side on this. Frederica thinks that her mom or their mom abandoned them because she hasn't been back in over a decade. But then she herself hasn't been back to Sanctuary in 10 years. If Frederica is coming to the conclusion that their mom abandoned them, then it makes sense for Garfield to come to the same conclusion. It doesn't really matter what Frederica's reasoning is because it looks the same to Garfield. I will agree with Frederica that I think that Garfield is staying inside of Sanctuary because he's scared, but that'll be something to discuss later. And now you know. I apologize for making you listen so long to learn so little. Nah, it's a lot better than being stuck with an unusable option forever. But I guess that means we'll have to pass the trial. Then I'd like to offer a suggestion. I'm on my way to get Roswell and Amelia on board with this, but it's really important, so I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't tell anyone. Very well, we will tell no one. I want to undergo the trial in Amelia's place. Huh? When I entered the graveyard to help Amelia, I came back unharmed, right? That's because I have the qualifications to undergo the trial. On top of that, I've already passed one of them. In the light novel, Subaru says that he took the trial and passed. He doesn't say anything about there being more trials, and he doesn't even hint at it. They can tell that the barrier is still there, so they think that he is lying about something. I mean, if he passed it and there was only one trial, then they wouldn't need to talk about a way around the barrier. The problem would just be solved already. But it doesn't matter. The point is that him leaving out these little details makes him look suspicious, and that's going to lead into the next events. I now understand your point. Young Su, there is something important that I must tell you too. Right now, I need you to keep quiet and behave yourself. Suddenly, Garfield grabs him by the neck and picks him up. I know you must be wondering why this is happening, but I will not ask your forgiveness. As promised, I will tell no one what you told me. I swear it on the name of Ryuzu Shima. Subaru passes out from the lack of air. As Subaru said earlier, it's another change in events. And it's not going to be a mystery for very long. We're going to get the reason for why they attacked here pretty soon. Just not in this video. You may have noticed that she is using a different name. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil this because I want to add another thing to track. I have a problem with making lists, apparently. Send help. Okay, there are actually multiple Ryuzus. So I'm going to make this little list here so we can track the ones that we have met. The first one that we met was in the forest. And we didn't get a name, so I'm going to kind of leave it as a mystery for now. We met Ryuzu Bilma in her own house, actually. That's the house that Roswell, not Ryuzu, Roswell is staying in. And the house that they keep having meetings in, that's actually her house that she's supposed to be staying in. She just kind of gave it up for Roswell since he's kind of the one in charge. The next one we met is Ryuzu Shima in the middle of the field here. So far we've met possibly three, since the one in the forest didn't really, the first one we met didn't really say anything. It could technically have been one of the two that we've met so far, but I'm gonna go ahead and spoil you. It's not. It's a different one. So we've met three of them so far. And it's hard to say what they're up to, who's on whose side, how many of them there are, what they actually want. There's too many mysteries at this point, so I'm gonna wait and set on. And instead of adding in too much information, we're eventually gonna learn about all that's happening. But the little bit of a spoiler that I'm adding is just that there's multiple of them. But it's going to be more helpful, I think, in the long run to kind of keep track on the ones that we have and haven't met. So here's a new list. Subaru is not dead yet, but this is a decent time to stop. A lot is about to go down. So next time we will see why they attacked him and what they did with him after knocking him out. See ya.